So we did our demo with Spot at Media Art, where Black Flag had recorded their Nervous Breakdown EP.
Still summer of '79.
Until the Plimsolls, who were doing their first EP, were finished recording, then we went in after them.
Yeah, I went through the quick little story. I was a paper boy for the Daily Breeze paper, and my paper route paid for our studio time. I was 11, I paid for our studio time on our first demo. So I always think that's a funny story that, the little kid in the band's one who actually paid for the demo. So then we did our first demo, and then I guess it got to Rodney Bingenheimer.
Yeah, that was the goal, to get it to Rodney. We got it to Rodney.
And then I guess maybe that's how Posh Boy knew, Robbie Fields knew to come to that first show, where we were opening for Black Flag.
I didn't live too far from the Hong Kong Cafe, and I used to ride the bus there, and I would be happy to go there every night of the week. And I think it was midweek that Redd Kross first played there, and there was a lot of expectation because they were the new hot thing. They had this very young player in the band, Steven, who was, I think, 11 at the time.
Yeah, Steve's voice hadn't changed yet. He's like 12 or so.
I particularly remember the Hong Kong Cafe because Steve, they would just send him right out the door. Even if he was 12 or 14, he looked like he was 9, so they would be like, just go outside. So he was always hanging around the courtyard, so we'd talk to him, ask what's going on, and be like, I have to go to school in the morning. I probably won't go anyway. So they didn't seem like they were terribly worried about attendance or grades or anything like that. But I mean, he looked young, like crazy, chubby-cheeked, like voice hadn't changed. He was kind of squeak when he sang with Jeff, so. No other bands were like that had anybody that young at all as Steve.
His voice hadn't broken. And interesting enough, it was that people thought that they were already good musicians. Redd Kross, to me, were not a novelty act at all. They, even with their rough-sounding music in those confines, I knew they had something because they had a very good lyrical sense.
Hong Kong Cafe, which I believe was Redd Kross's first gig. I happened to be at that gig. Jeff and Steve were both probably 6'2", and they were like 12 or 14 or something, and they were awesome. And David Bowie showed up that night for, I don't know why, but I remember I was very close to the stage, and I thought they were great. I think a friend of mine went, and he was timing the songs, and they were all like around about a minute. And everybody hovered around Bowie afterward at some point.
David Bowie was at the back of the room. It was midweek. There might have been 50 people in the club.
One of the first shows when I go dance with Redd Kross with a C was at the Hong Kong Cafe. Probably about 5 minutes after we came out off stage, we found out that David Bowie was in the audience, and he was sitting right there. And we couldn't get anybody. Everybody was like trying to get other people to go up and ask him if he'd seen any of our set, but we never found out, and we'll never know.
So David Bowie went to our first nightclub performance. We had some pretty remarkable things happen early on.
That was the first time I saw them. I think it only took that one time before I made a pitch to record them. Now, this was 1979, I think in the fall.
At the first show, we're kind of the ones that get discovered.
Yeah, we got signed.
We got signed. We got signed. And before you knew it, we were recording our first EP.
In a real, like, Hollywood studio.
It was a studio that was in a big old craftsman's house, and it was also a record label, Shelter Records, and they had done a new wave band named Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
My dad was a lawyer, so he like wrote up the contract like on a piece of paper. It was like maybe 3 paragraphs or something like that. I think me and Ron were the other ones were legally able to sign because he was 19 and I was 18. But nobody thought about it. We were really excited that, oh my God, this guy with a real label and a real studio is putting on a record. What really attracted us to the Posh Boy label was they did a sampler called Beach Boulevard. It had The Crowd and Rick and Simple Tones, right?
It was a great pop.
It was a great pop record. And we're like, cool, we're going to be on the sequel to that. But then we ended up on this this compilation called The Siren with a horrible album cover and
Yeah,
bands
I've
that
never seen the album cover for the first time. It's
and we're like
it was kind of a disappointment.
bands we never heard of before that weren't punk rock.
They were
no,
just like these
but-
kind of middle of the road rock bands.
Okay.
And we thought, okay, this was our big break. This is a compilation in this band called 391. We're
No,
like, what? Spitting Teeth?
Following on from the success of Beach Boulevard, I thought I could walk on water. I thought that I could put any three groups on any particular future compilation, and I could sell 10,000 albums at the drop of a hat. Well, I found out that I couldn't.
We're just little kids on this really bland rock album with a terrible album cover.
So, and then I started doing, over the next few years, I started doing something that greatly annoyed the McDonald brothers.
Robbie decided to put it out as a 12-inch EP.
Terrible album cover.
Well, yeah,
But luckily, Rodney played the
Played the shit out of it.
Now, you'd have to ask Jeff and Steve whether they wrote Annette's Got the Hits consciously wanting to place it with Rodney, but that was in his power zone. I mean, that was such a natural fit. So you've got this one track from them that I assure you that he's played in every decade since, and probably every year. And it used to be every month he would play Annette's Got the Hits.
And we had already been working Rodney for years. We would call Rodney and request stuff, and we were getting our whole education from Rodney. So writing songs like Annette's Got the Hits, I mean, that was tailor-made for Rodney Bingenheimer. We could not have like A&R'd our own target at this one DJ any better. We were really very focused on succeeding in this world that we loved, that we learned from, and so songs like Annette's Got the Hits and Clorox Girls, these are like very inspired by beach movies from the 60s. And Rodney was making those connections for us. We listened to his show and
we loved them too, so it was like insane.
We loved it too. We watch beach movies after school, but we just thought we liked it. It was weird and campy. But then when we hear Rodney Bingenheimer talking about, how cool Annette Funicello was, and it was an early crush for him, and that he was finding the connection between beach movies
and the Beach Boys.
And the Beach Boys, and then this new band, the Ramones. We could hear that Beach Boys and that beach movie influence in things like, Rockaway Beach or whatever, it's just the next generation, the evolution of it.
When you listen to that intro, to those riffs, that is really well played and well recorded. But they had the lyric, Annette's got the hits, Annette's. I mean, it's kind of lazy in a way, but it's so potent. How would they know that something like Annette's Got the Hits would become a classic?
Annette's Got the Hits is one of my favorite all-time forever songs. All I had access to were those books, but sonically all I had access to was Rodney on the Rocks, and he played that song every week, and I'd get my tape recorder and the radio would be going, and I'd press play, and I recorded that song, and I'd listen to it. When I heard those songs, I heard myself in those songs. I heard my influences, I heard my city, I heard the, being an outsider within outsiders. I heard that.
Some of my very favorite Redd Kross songs are the very first EP, talking about Poser and all that. Everybody used to shop at Poser. That's where we went and we bought our import singles. Danny Holloway it was on Sunset. It was an old house and we'd go upstairs. And so the fact that they wrote about that showed how hip they were, because I couldn't even figure out how they got to Hollywood. I mean, I don't know, did they grab mom's car and they couldn't reach the pedal? Well, I guess they're pretty tall. But
I Hate My School was kind of it was a landmark moment for young bands, I think. Everybody was just like, man, you can make a song that says that. How cool,
Oh, well, Greg wrote the lyrics to that song.
And I probably heard about S&M through like a Penthouse Forum magazine or something that my dad had laying around the house or side. Who knew anything? I was like, what, this is a thing?
Yeah. They beat each other up.
Sounds like something I don't want to be involved in, but people like it. I was kind of intrigued but scared at the same time.
He's like, what are we going to sing about? And you're a kid, you don't really have too much experience. So we sang about hookers, S&M.
But we're always judgmental. But
Teeny
we were
boppers.
judgmental of these things, you know? Like,
we didn't know about it.
Dylan called
We
them
know.
finger pointing songs.
Those songs, they were really produced in a way where they're very direct and kind of like angular and just, you know, blasting and great.
Black Flag was awesome, but Redd Kross was fun. They were like just mocking cover bands or singing about Annette Funicella's tits, you know?